Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, good Tuesday, good Wednesday, good Thursday, good Friday. Good day to you, madams and sirs.
Fedora.
This is a pre-tape, which means I don't know when it's airing, and I don't know when you're watching it. That means exciting for
spicy.
both of us. Ooh, add in some spice, and it means we get to get a little weird. This one's kind of more, a little more celebrity gossipy than we would normally do, but it's a conversation that organically happened between us the other day in the middle of a meeting, because that's how we meeting. It's amazing because this really did happen, and I think it took a full 10 to 15 minutes of our meeting, and our boss, our general manager, is just sitting there like, God, these children, why God must I manage this group of wild animals? But we're going to make it into content for you. Oh God, I called it content. What should I do to correct it, Joe?
It's too late.
It's too late. Damn it, I
Corporate
ruined it.
buzzwords. The synergy at this table from our guru over here.
Social media guru here to bring you in on the celebrity synergizing. So let's synergize this. Celebrities can do ask for some things that sometimes there's like this legend, and this one I really don't know if it's true at all, but I like to imagine it is.
I'll put a big asterisk at the top. I did as much thorough research as I could. If I found one that was kind of, well, they're all weird. I tried to find multiple places that had kind of at least the similar same story. So most of these asterisk, but I did look for multiple sources of where this came from.
I'm going to do one that's not researched at all, and literally is just a legend and lore that I like to imagine is true,
Sure.
and then we'll get into some of the ones that we have actually researched, and that is that Mariah Carey demands an array of puppies and kittens whenever she enters a hotel room. Now, I doubt that's true, but I really want it to be true, and then I want a rescue organization to come in and adopt out like the Mariah kittens. Because that to me is amazing. So some of these things I'm like, you know what, if I was Mariah Carey, I might do that and then have work with a rescue.
We should talk at the end maybe about what we would demand. Or
Yeah.
what
Oh,
we
definitely.
should be demanding.
Yeah, but like, because then you could work with an organization and be like, it might help these puppies and kittens get adopted.
That they were blessed
by Mariah.
There was
like,
also
it's a way to use your power, man.
There was a really cool one, and I should have put it in here, but I didn't, because I tried to stay away mostly from music, but a lot of the things that you find are like tour writers.
Yeah.
But the Foo Fighters have an awesome one, because it's not just like a list, it's like a little activity book. So you have to do like word searches and mazes with like a little colored pencil to find out what they want.
What they want.
Yeah.
Just
That's
to make sure they're
amazing.
paying attention.
Paying attention, and just to make it kind of out of the ordinary. But there's scans of it online, and it looks really fun.
Nice.
And there's also famously, you were talking about this during our meeting the other day.
Yeah, the whole Led Zeppelin brown M&Ms thing
Yeah.
wasn't because they were super picky about M&M color, but they knew that if they had taken care to separate out the brown M&Ms, that they didn't need to worry about the lighting and the rig and the pyrotechnics, that they paid attention to the details.
Yeah, that they basically had read the rest of the writer and were doing what they were supposed to be doing, which is kind of an amazing, smart way to double check that you're going to get the show that you want. So here we go. George Clooney wanted this for his particular show. He requested, this is via Marie Claire, a hot tub, a custom-made beach hut, and a basketball court to accompany him and be installed near his trailer while he was making the movie Gravity.
Now, two of the three things sound very like relatable and fun. Like, who wouldn't want a hot tub? You gotta relax after a long day.
He just wants
of
to
shooting.
ball.
And he just wants to ball. Just wants to get some shots up, in between takes. What's the beach hut?
So, okay, so
Where
the
were they shooting?
On a soundstage, for sure. But
So why would you put a beach hut in a
Did they have to
soundstage?
create a beach?
So
I mean, that's what I'm
the-
saying is like, there's no beach.
The basketball court thing is actually like, that's pretty standard for him. Like, that goes all the way back to like the ER days. In fact, I think he rolled his ankle on Batman and Robin, which is why there are a couple shots where he's not seen waist down because he's not wearing his boots. The beach hut, though, from what I read, like, it's it's actually like he like wanted like a custom made to look like straight off of like
As
Kona.
if they were in a cabana?
As if exactly, a cabana. That's the word. Yeah, he wanted like an actual cabana.
Nice.
Because Gravity, I mean, they built this special for her, for Sandra Bullock. This crazy. She should have been making some demands because they had her up in that rig for so long, forever, and they were just like, she was hanging in this crazy light box.
George Clooney's in his beach hut,
and-
just
and-
like a globetrotter.
Clooney has to walk in and basically be in a spaceship set and then like hanging out on the beach hut. What did she want at that point?
Also,
she just wanted to get down
just
from
wanted
the
to get back to
ring
Earth.
she
some
was
real
swimming
Gravity.
in.
I haven't seen Gravity since the theater that one time. Isn't Clooney not in it that much?
Well,
He's not
spoiler
in it a
alert.
lot.
Yeah, it's
I mean, that movie's
it's
like
old,
5
but
years
he's in the
old
first
now.
third.
Yeah,
Okay.
but he didn't have. All right, George, we love you enough to let it go, but that's the beach hut. All right, Will Ferrell,
That's how it works out.
Joe Star, walk us through what Will Ferrell wants.
I like Will Ferrell's. They're all wheel related. He's asked for electric 3-wheel mobility scooters, a flight of stairs on wheels, a fake tree on wheels. He's asked for a rainbow on wheels. Yeah, I think
Will
that's-
Ferrell over here.
Yeah.
But it's an undramatic mic drop, but yes.
Wheel.
Yeah, I think that's his brown M&Ms, where he's just like, he leads with that, and then everything else just looks normal, and he knows it'll be taken care of.
I almost just wonder if it's just like, this is just fun to me to just ask you for dumb stuff.
Yeah, there was and I can't say who, but there was a celebrity not visiting us, but visiting one of the other brands that used to be with Defy. And there was a green room that they set up for this person. And when I walked in, there was the weirdest array of things. There were 3 champagne bottles, and then there were some waffle sandwiches that had fried chicken, egg, bacon, but this is a person that definitely doesn't eat this way.
Okay.
So that sandwich
comforting.
was there, and then like a bowl of fruit and like a vase of flour. And I was like, this is just to mess with them.
No, it's like
it's
Dodgeball,
so
where it's probably
clearly-
the pizza,
like-
where he's like torturing himself, like, you can't
Yeah,
eat this.
like-
You can't have this.
Like, it's just, or one of those things where this is a trick where I used to have a friend that actually did this. They just sit there and make someone else eat it in front of them so they can like vicariously have the experience.
It's like secretary. It's like some weird power and control thing. Like, eat it.
Let me watch you eat it.
Yeah, I do.
eat this, so eat it.
In regards to Will Ferrell, I worked on a lot briefly for like 3-4 months, and everything's so far apart.
Yeah.
Like to get from like the cafeteria to Soundstage 2 is like it's like a 10-minute walk. So having everything you want on wheels, maybe it's for real.
Yeah, I guess that makes
When you
sense.
just need a rainbow in the middle of the day.
He just wants to get back to his car in a rainbow that day. I get that.
Yeah.
John Travolta has one that Spencer's going to walk us through that I can't. Let's
I
puzzle
didn't
this
know
one
about
out
this.
together.
John Travolta, he's kind of a mysterious dude, growing ever more mysterious by his request that his rooms have all of the windows covered with aluminum foil or like dark blackout curtains, and that the room be vacant for 24 hours beforehand so that he cannot smell other people's scents.
I'm worried. That one makes me worry a little bit. Billy, what do you think?
I think, look, blackout curtains, I don't think that's strange at
Just a
all.
rest.
It's the aluminum foil part. I'm not
Block
sure.
the signals.
Yeah.
Okay,
Ew.
I guess. And then the scent thing, I don't know. I kind of am on board with that now that I read it. I'm like, you know what? That's good. There should be like a 24-hour airing out period.
You're like, that's
from.
fair.
Yeah, because like
some box fans
people
in there.
have smells. I'm not saying they're like bad, but people have like you walk into someone's home, you're like, oh, that's that person's house smell,
Yep.
and you don't want to have your person's house smell. You want to like come in like clean slate of smells.
That's like very animalistic the way that you frame that. And now it makes sense. You just want to mark the space as your own.
Right.
It's like a very dominant
John
thing.
Travolta's just alpha dog.
Yeah.
He's got to be,
Yeah, but
Wasn't he
the,
an alpha dog?
probably.
Probably.
I think no.
That feels
Oh no,
right.
it's Bruce Willis. Sorry.
Yeah,
He-
with,
he's
to me,
Spanish
this
mom.
is like with the blackout curtains and the scent-free thing. It's like he wants a sensory deprivation chamber instead of like a hotel room. Like he just wants to lie down in the middle of like some Epsom salts and some 98-degree water,
Yeah.
no light, no smells, and just like completely escape this reality and maybe into the role he's
Yeah,
playing.
I
Like
do
in between days on Gotti, he would just lie down completely comatose.
I get levels of this, or at least like blackout curtains and stuff like this. The aluminum foil, but like I get if the shooting schedule's weird, you're doing night shoots, and you just need to go get that like couple hours sleep before the next day's shoot. Like I get not wanting to be able to like see the lights from the building, like the hotel across the street, like shining into my window. Like, yeah, I get that stuff. The foil is interesting. I feel like we're sleeping on that just a little bit.
Yeah.
But the smell thing, who do you think was his co-star that made him institute the 24-hour smell rule?
Or it could have been just
Who's
like
John Travolta's smelliest co-star?
just like it could have just been a PA.
Cameron
or
Gorney,
grip.
Saturday Night Fever.
Oh.
Just like started early.
I did a play with her, and she smells like a rose,
I'm
and
sure
she's
she does.
delightful.
Well, sound
She's
off in
a
the comments.
very-
Who do you think his smelliest co-star
I
is?
will say, so Billy and I share a love for Saturday Night Fever. So Karen, I did this like off Broadway play with her when I was really young, but I was like floored, like gobstopped, like
About how good she
thunderstruck
smelled?
by her because she was in Saturday Night Fever.
How come she
Yeah.
wasn't like a big thing after
I
that?
don't know. I wish it, because she is very delightful. You'll be happy to know. This one makes me happy because it's super nerdy,
And
it's
because
like,
that's his song.
and so Pharrell Williams, and because it's a song. Thank you, Joe Star.
Joe.
So an avowed Carl Sagan
we get
fan.
that graphic? Joe.
We've been asking for that graphic, and the internet has not yet provided. Pharrell Williams, who is an avowed Carl Sagan fan, requires concert promoters to place a framed photo of the late astronomer in his dressing room. This is according to the performer's 2015 tour writer. This is via The Smoking Gun. Williams has spoken about being obsessed with Sagan since watching the original Cosmos series when he was a child. The Sagan photo demand actually appears twice in his list of dressing room requirements. I'm not,
Again.
this isn't Led Zeppelin
This isn't a
testing
joke.
you. I really want the Carl Sagan photo
With
in there.
turtleneck preferred.
Yes, thank you.
I just had to look it up. Pharrell is now 45 years of age.
No way.
That man is an alien.
That's a lie.
He's 17.
He sympathizes with Sagan because he's the only person who understands, the
Timelessness.
timelessness of extraterrestrial life. Because Pharrell is not of this earth.
Yeah, no. Well, and for a number of reasons. Show him again, please.
That is a 45-year-old man.
That's
No way.
what.
Yeah.
All right.
Good for him, man.
For you. Gary Busey is one that we can only imagine.
Also 45.
Oh God,
Tough life.
That goes a whole.
I have no idea.
How old would he be, Gary Busey, if you had
gotta
to
be in
wager a
his
guess?
60s,
I think
right?
he's
Yeah,
like
it's like in his 60s.
just eternally rumpled. I don't
Yeah.
know what age.
So let's talk about Billy the Business. What are some of the things
Yeah,
that he
so
needs?
this was during the shooting of a movie called Quigley, which I was like, I've never heard of this movie.
Yeah, I'm frustrated because at first I was like, was he in Quigley Down Under, the Australian Western starring Tom Selleck? I don't remember that. But yeah, it
No,
turns
this
out-
is
There's two
Quigley.
Quigleys.
Yeah.
Quigley, like the Hallmark Channel dog movie.
That's amazing. It looks like they died and the dog lives. In this
Yeah.
This movie.
Wait, can I ask a
Oh, no,
question?
he does die. He's
No,
really.
wait.
You're on point.
Why is the dog a businessman?
Because this movie adds even more wrinkles to how weird Nine Lives is, because this movie is Nine Lives.
Okay.
A jerk is reincarnated as that dog
Yeah.
to learn how to be a better person, and that's kind of
Nine
Lives,
Lives, yeah.
which means the weirdo that wanted to make Nine, because that story's all just crazy bizarre in itself, but now you add the level of he saw Quigley and he was like,
Right.
what if it was...
This, but with a cat.
JT,
Kevin
you
Spacey.
yelled. Have you seen this?
No, I just commented he has a tie.
He has a tie. No, I know. That's what I want to know.
Astute observation,
because
JT.
what I want to talk about is I want to know the following things. What business is the dog in? Is he an accountant? Is he in mergers and acquisitions?
Did
is
he tie that tie?
Is he a
How?
venture guy? Like, how did he tie the tie? Also, I have a concern about the tie. Can we show it again? It's way dangerously long for him.
Yeah.
Like, that is an
That's-
accident waiting to
that's
happen.
like
that
that's
tie.
a Trump length tie right there.
That's not
So-
a
Gotta watch Quigley.
right. So what did he want?
in Quigley,
Should be to your knees.
yes, Spencer, you were not far off. This does include reincarnation, as Joe said, and apparently Gary Busey had a near-death experience at a certain point in his life, And one of his co-stars in this movie said Busey showed up on set that was made to look like heaven, and he looked around and said, "I can't play this scene." They were 3 days behind at this point in shooting, but he said, "It's nothing like this. I've been to heaven, and there's no mirrors." So the set's all wrong. That mirror is ridiculous. They don't have mirrors. So he went completely nuts about the design of what heaven looked like and demanded that all mirrors be removed because he had been to heaven. No mirrors.
Awesome.
Yeah.
The thing I like about
it's
this one
integrity.
is, what do you say to that? Like, when a guy's like, I died once and I've been to heaven and there were no mirrors. What do you say to that? Just
Okay.
like, no, you didn't. Like, you can't.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't
can't
know how
say
you counter
yes
that.
or no. I don't know. It seems like such a small demand at that point.
Yeah.
You're like, I just take the
mirrors
mirror out.
down.
It's not that big of a deal,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
I mean, it is to the set designer
Yeah,
who
yeah, I was
just
gonna
built
say,
this heaven
like,
set, and
But
now
you
this,
have to- why would you
and now
put-
the crazy ass fire stick
Don't you
guys
like try
coming
to
in.
avoid putting mirrors all over sets so you don't have to worry about like?
Yeah, but think about all the work that it took to get that right, only to have Gary come in and be like,
And I promise you, the mirrors were going to be a thing. The way
Yeah.
they were lit, the way they were shot, the mirrors were going to be a cool, like, weird infinity. I promise you, they had to redo all this because Busey was like, "I've been to heaven and I've spoken to Paul."
Also, my guess is that you didn't even see the mirrors in the shot; that they were just used to reflect light to create a glow, so that it looked heavenly.
yeah, if I saw heaven early though, it would really screw me up because, like, not to get too good place about it, but would I be like, well, I guess I'm going to the good place, like,
Or not.
Well, no, I've been to heaven, so I know clearly I'm running a surplus of good deeds here, so I can really take it easy for the rest
Pump
of
the
my life.
brakes on being a nice guy.
Well, but then if you go too far in the other direction and you accrue a deficit, like you want to go back to heaven?
Yeah, but I could coast.
Yeah.
I could coast from that point on.
It's a really important good place
I
argument.
also
that you
feel like you
raise.
would turn into like a nut because you'd be like, "Guys, I've been there. It's real. Like, you have to listen to me. It's real." I'd be like, "Okay, dude, just."
Well, there's whole
take a-
movies about
Yeah.
Colton something, the heaven is
The-
real.
yeah,
Heaven is real.
yeah.
Well,
So?
I mean, look, Busey could be 100% correct, but it's also Quigley, which looks like it was made for the Hallmark Channel. So I'm not sure
Yeah.
if the mirrors really push the needle.
I just think that the deep irony would probably, not irony, but like they probably weren't seen in the shot. It wasn't as if mirrors were in heaven, that the mirrors were used to reflect the light so that it looked more heavenly. And it's like, okay, Gary, fine, just
Fine.
fine.
Yeah.
Marlon Brando, besides
Sure, don't even know what heaven looks like.
demanding to play Jarrell like a bagel, which he initially did.
Yep. That
What
is true.
else did he do, Joe Star?
Oh, we have for a minute, I thought you wanted it off the dome, and I was like,
What did he do?
Marlon Brando do? During Moreau, he'd wear like an ice bucket on his head. That made it in. He demanded that a 2-foot-tall actor that would be dressed
Put the
dressed
photo
directly
back up.
like his character. Yeah, we've got a picture of
Whoa.
that, I think.
This is for the Island of Dr. Moreau, that
Yeah.
terrible, terrible 96, 97 movie.
Yeah, he's a crazy, crazy dude, that Marlon Brando. This is like, honestly, I think some of the just chillest stuff he probably demanded on a set or challenged his directors and producers with.
I mean, his things are more even
pretty
fundamental
standard
than
for
that
him.
of like, I'm
Yeah.
not going to say the lines in the script. Was
Yeah.
his usual demand.
That was his usual, or I mean, he really
Run
did.
off.
He was messing with Richard Donner. He was just messing with
Yeah.
him, but he did do stuff like that, and he would be like, "I'm gonna play Jarrell just like a bagel." And Richard,
Mother's a bugle.
Yeah, I mean, it's somewhat sad because this was a very troubled guy, but at the same time, like, nobody told him no. It
Yeah.
seems like no one stood up to him.
Well,
So-
there was also infamously The Score, which might have been his last movie ever, where like he refused to speak with Frank Oz, who was the director, and I can't remember one of the other actors.
He
Maybe
only
it was De
communicated
Niro.
with Frank and Post-its.
But-
Were signed by Blade.
he literally like would not. He didn't want Frank Oz within eyesight, so like Frank Oz couldn't be around to direct those scenes, which is just very strange.
what's crazy to me is that you're right. I mean, I think he's probably the perfect example of out of control celebrity. Like he probably was like a little kid because he was pretty young when he became famous initially in Superhot. That's a side note. But he, I think, probably became like a little kid that's trying to test boundaries because in order to feel safe in the world, you kind of need that sense of boundary around you. It's why cats like to get in little boxes. And he probably eventually was like, how far can I take this?
That 2 foot tall man
and
was his
no one
box.
ever said no. Like that probably made him feel crazy that no one ever said no to him. You know, like that probably really damaged him.
Now, I never saw
That's
Island
sad.
of Dr. Moreau. Did anyone here see it?
No, not
No.
that
Like
one.
I was
years
gonna say,
ago. I don't
is
remember
is
it
the
now.
2 foot tall mini me of him in the movie?
I think so.
Yes.
I haven't seen it.
JT says
JT with the
yes.
sad, yeah, he's in it.
Like, I wonder if they had to like write the script around it. Like, okay, maybe he
right.
makes a clone of himself,
Yeah.
or if it was like
Wow.
just.
JT, he
Yeah.
requested it.
Yeah.
Okay. JT, do you remember the Matthew Broderick movie that he did with the lizard?
The
The
Freshman.
Freshman.
Yeah.
What's crazy is that if you watch, I swear I love this movie, but watch him in The Freshman and it's like, man, he can still act if he would only want to.
Yeah.
Daniel Day-Lewis, who, man, he can act as his, I think, middle name. This one I get. I
thought it was
Spencer,
Day.
walk us through
Yeah,
it.
I mean, I think it's a pretty well-known story, but for Lincoln, he basically lived the life of a young Abraham Lincoln. He wouldn't use any technology that was, post that era. He lived in a recreation of his cabin, I believe, and he wouldn't let anybody speak to him in a British accent, or it would throw him off. It would throw off the voice that he'd been perfecting.
I want to know what this Joe Star head nod is.
I hate these Daniel Day-Lewis stories so much. Sorry.
They also,
No, go
Joe,
take him to task.
Joe, I would just want to give you a new thing to be upset about before you talk about it. They had to build basically like a tent tunnel for him to walk from where he was
doubt
to
it.
set so that he didn't have
wouldn't
to
see.
he didn't see any other things and wasn't bothered by modern life. Joe?
I just like it. My favorite method of acting is when an actor walks on the set and they're like, "Hey man, how you doing? You
Hey,
good?
Yeah.
Are we ready?" And then someone's like, "Action!" And then they're their character really good, and then they're like, "Cut!" And he's like, "So I'm glad you guys are doing good. Anyway, see you
Yeah.
later." And then they go be a normal person.
Well, I mean, that is acting, right? Acting is pretending to be a person in a time and a place that you're not. But he, look,
I think he'd do this without the movies. Like, I think if he didn't have his profession, he would just be
Yeah,
that
no,
crazy
he
person.
does.
who
He'd be
turns
like
out
a
that-
cosplayer.
He's a,
He'd be
he's
like
a
the
cosplay
world-
as
Yeah.
a cobbler in
He's
Italy.
a cobbler.
I
He's
think
a
that it's all
nut.
about the results. I mean, when Jared Leto does this, like we're like, but when he does it, he gets deservedly Best Actor awards because he's that good and he just has insane requirements. But not everyone deserves this treatment. But I think he's earned it.
I think acting is acting truthfully under imaginary circumstances. That's like the definition. But here's the thing. I think he thinks he needs it more than he actually needs it. I feel like it's almost like sports ball persons with like superstitions, like they
Need
think
the special underwear
they need the things they have the talent. They can do it. They don't actually need those things.
It's Dumbo's feather is his recreation log cabin. Just believe in yourself, EDL.
Billy Business.
Yeah.
Let's bring
Speaking
it
of underwear.
home with the celebrity of celebrities, Mr. Tom Cruise.
This one, it's funny on its head, but it actually probably makes the most sense out of all of these. Tom Cruise insists that he has in his dressing room 50 custom-made thongs. Insiders say that he demands G-strings made from soft, stretchy material, allowing him to feel unrestricted when performing stunts and action
That
sequences.
tracks.
Oh, man.
Like 50,
Dumps like a
50
truck.
custom thongs on paper. Hilarious.
Yes.
The thinking of like doing
Reality.
like the stuff that he does in those Mission Impossible movies, like in
Yeah, that
boxers,
would
is
chafe in
uncomfortable.
boxers.
Yeah.
But why not freeball it at that point? Just the G string. That's got to ride.
I mean, you got to at least wear a dance.
Yeah, but that's why they're
belt for
custom.
some
They're
of
really
it,
soft.
right?
Sure.
Like especially like you don't want like Tom Cruise like balls hanging out like an IMAX,
Yeah.
for some of those.
Hey, Tom!
Yeah, you gotta have something.
He's
there.
not in like a kilt though. He's wearing like
Pants.
yeah, he's wearing Under Armour or something.
I'm just saying, from years of experience in the Comic-Con circuit, you can tell when someone's wearing a costume where they didn't take the time to secure everything. And it's uncomfortable for everybody.
Yeah.
I really like the stunts. If that's what you got to do to make sure everything's all situated, then
Get the man his underwear.
Wear that thong.
I hope I tried to look into this one more other than just the base story of it. I really hope he owns it. Like, I hope this isn't something that he's like, don't let that like get out. I hope he's like, hell yeah, I have like my 50 custom thongs. How else do you think I
Sprint for half the movie.
Yeah.
like a crazy person?
They'll climb a plane for you. He'll break his leg running across a
And get up and
building
keep
and get
walking.
up and keep
He'll
running.
wear thongs for you,
Give
which I
the
can't
man
imagine are
his
that comfortable.
underwear.
Right.
Well, I think that's why they're custom made. Like I picture them being like incredibly soft.
Yeah.
Cotton thongs
modal.
that feel good,
They're soft and
all
stretchy.
tucked in,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah.
Solid.
We believe in you, Tom. Get you your underwear. I think this has been a good show.
I think so.
It's been a show.
Yeah.
We did it.
We certainly did it.
We did one for sure.
And whenever you're watching it, I hope you're enjoying it.
It's one for the vault. If
Yeah.
it never sees the light of day,
Yeah.
I'll be a little sad,
I'll be really sad.
but I had fun.
Yeah. I think it'll see the light of day.
Okay.
Yeah.
The way things are going, this will definitely see the light of day at some point.
And hopefully we will see you in the light of day of your hearts and your nights soon live because things are still working. Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
We'll see.
Watch Quigley Down Under.